You guys voted, we listened, so today I'm going to be reviewing Wealthfront. Wealthfront is the OG of robo-advisors. They were one of the first to pioneer this idea of letting robots manage your investments. This was back in 2008. I'm just going to pull up my screen today and review the product today, what it looks like today, their core investing product where they manage your investments in a completely automated way. And I'm going to be looking at portfolio, fees, everything in between, and make sure to stick around to the end. I'll let you guys know if I recommend using Wealthfront or passing on it. Hey guys, Jessica here. Before jumping into it, really quick call out that we're Uprise. We're a VC-backed fintech company that is building the best financial plan experience in the world. One number, 1.5 million. That is how much, on average, we've added back to each customer's lifetime net worth. And the way we do this is by looking at people's specific situations and then looking for optimizations. So everything from employer benefits to budgeting to credit cards, savings accounts, everything in between. And all of the plans that we put together are Wall Street level, fully personalized, and 100% free. So definitely check us out. I've linked to us in the description below. Also, if you get value out of this video, please hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. It really helps small channels like ours. Okay, getting back to it, Wealthfront. So full disclosure, I've been a customer since 2015, which is actually a while ago now. Basically, I remember how excited I was when I first heard about Wealthfront, and this is like pretty late in the game considering they'd already been around for some time, where I was like, oh my God, I don't have to manage my investments anymore. All the like sort of industry best practices, they take care of it for me. And they had this promotion thing going on back then when, I think it's still on, where if you invite a friend, you get $5,000 managed for free. So then I invited a ton of friends so I can get more money managed for free. It was amazing. That said, the product has changed a lot. And also, they recently sold themselves to a Swiss bank, UBS. And so there's just been a lot of changes over there. And I thought I would come back to this fresh eyes and do a complete review and whether or not I'd still recommend it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to pull up my screen and just walk through the process of signing up for a new account. You guys can see, follow along step by step, and I'm going to basically look at their portfolio. What are they investing my money in? What do the fees look like? How easy is it to use? And also, what are the other bells and whistles, and are those worth it? Like, basically, Wealthfront talks a lot about its tax loss harvesting. Is that worth it? I'm going to talk about that too. So let's do it.
Hey guys, so I'm on the Wealthfront website now. Just a few things I want to call out before I jump into starting an account. The first thing is I'm just a big fan of their app design. It's so simple looking, and they have it in a bunch of other places. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click into investing because that's what we're looking at today. But like, take a look. Like you could see there's more different screenshots, and I just really like how simple and easy to understand it is, and just generally well designed. So they get my vote from that. I've been a user for a long time. It's always been really easy and seamless. And you'll see that too as I go through the sign up process. But a couple of things to call out. It's not just about design. So scrolling down here, looking at fees. Scrolling down here. So you'll see here that they sort of like juxtapose these two things. The first one is that their fee is in the small font, 0.25%. Which is pretty standard for robo-advisors. I think, they really sort of set the bar previously. Like for most investment managers, it used to be like 1% or, 0.8% if you were really lucky. And they really, changed the game by bringing this down to 0.25%. And so they've stuck with the 0.25% since for as long as they've been around. And then they mentioned the fact that, like, if you use their tax loss harvesting feature, which is available to all of their accounts, you get 1.8% positive, which totally offsets this fee. That's their marketing claim. We're going to jump into that a little bit later in this video. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how you should think about tax loss harvesting, what exactly it is. So just keep that in mind. It's not entirely what it seems. Okay, so scrolling back up here, the other thing I want to call out is that they now do a lot more from an investment option perspective. What I mean by this is Wealthfront in the past used to basically give you no choice. You put your money in Wealthfront, they invest it for you, great. Now it seems like they have a ton of stuff that you can invest in. So from a portfolio perspective, in addition to their original classic, They've now added a socially responsible portfolio, as well as this direct indexing portfolio for accounts over 100K. They also even just let you pick stuff if you wanted to. So you could pick various crypto trusts. I remember when I came up here, you could even search for like cannabis. They have 2 different cannabis ETFs. Not to say that you should necessarily do that, but it's an option for you. And so basically what it seems like they've done now is just really give you a lot more choice in terms of what to invest in, how you want to invest. I don't know if this is necessarily positive for everyone. Sometimes, like I'm in the cereal aisle and I don't want all that choice. But in this case, I feel like there are certain, issues like being socially responsible and these kinds of things that are more important to people. And so you have that option if it matters to you. Otherwise, if you don't want choice, this classic portfolio is great. And we'll get into that too. Okay, so now I'm going to get started creating an account, but I'm not going to just click the get started or any of the buttons on their website. What I'm actually going to do is go to Google and search for the NerdWallet Wealthfront review. I mentioned this in a few of my other videos, but basically what you should always do once you've decided, hey, I want to create an account somewhere, what you should always do is just see if there are any promo codes. This is true if you're like checking out on an e-commerce website or if you're shopping for a financial product, you should always check if there are promo codes. So in this case, NerdWallet is giving an extra $50 customer bonus. Like, why not? I'd love $50. And then they have this standard, if you scroll down here, Wealthfront has this standard offering where you get the first $5,000 managed for free. I've seen this first $5,000 managed for free in a bunch of different websites. So you don't necessarily need to give the credit to NerdWallet. But I think this $50 is, or haven't seen this around as much. So hence I point you guys to NerdWallet. So basically $5,000 managed for free and $50 extra. And then you can click learn more here. Okay. And then go to Wealthfront. So as mentioned, fund your first taxable investment account and we'll deposit an extra $50 for you. And then you can click get started from here. Okay, so now I'm going to get started creating an account. And so before jumping into it, this is the first screen. They actually have many different types of investment accounts. So there's the standard taxable investment account. And I think the NerdWallet promotion was specifically for this type of account. But I wanted to call out that they also have these other accounts, which are tax advantaged. So there's the traditional IRA, Roth IRA, SEP IRA, 401k rollover. We won't go into that here, but basically these are tax advantaged long-term retirement accounts. They also have these 529 plans, which is for like if you put money in, you can take money out tax-free to pay for college, stuff like that. I don't know if I necessarily recommend Wealthfront for the 529 plan, but again, a topic for another day. I'm just going to get started today with general investing. Who owns accounts? Just me. Fill in your details, fill in your email address, password, etc. Okay, phone number. So they're going to send you a verification code for security reasons. Date of birth. This is pretty important, by the way. Whenever you think about investing, date of birth is important because it helps you figure out how much risk you should be taking. So that's why they ask that. Income, net worth. Okay, so this is where they get into how risky are you? And this is pretty standard. This is a pretty standard question across all of the Robo-advisors. What would you do if your portfolio lost 10% of its value in a month? Well, I would buy more if I could. What are you most focused on when investing? I am focused on maximizing gains. Okay, and now you have the ability to pick what type of portfolio you'd like to start with. I think they get you started in one of their standard portfolios and then you can customize over time. But I'm going to go with classic and just take a look at the investments in here. These are all very low cost and well diversified Vanguard ETFs. So I'm pretty impressed with this. What I mean by this is like I said that the fee was 0.25%. That's just for the Wealthfront service. You still have to pay the ETF fees. So like, for example, VTI, I think has an expense ratio of 0.03 or 0.04%. So you would need to pay that on top of the 0.25% that you're paying. But the fact that they then went and picked the sort of like best in class, lowest fee ETFs gives me a lot of confidence that, this is a product that actually has, my best interest in mind. And then also, I mentioned that I would buy more and that I would, I'm trying to maximize gains. So then, of course, they would put me in the highest risk. And I really like it because in the highest risk portfolio, there's no cash. And I did the math, by the way, that this actually adds up to 100%. They haven't they haven't allocated anything to cash, which makes sense for somebody who is 10 out of 10 risk. I bring this up because there are other robo-advisors like Schwab, for example, that put 6% of your portfolio in cash, even for the most risky people, which is just not in your best interest. So I am a fan of what they have done here. You can also switch your portfolio as mentioned. So you could go into the socially responsible portfolio. We could take a look at that. Again, iShares, very reputable Vanguard ETF. So like same kind of story. I am not as familiar with, whether or not these are actually, when they say ESG, does it actually mean ESG or is it just like marketing? I think that's something that if, you were curious about, it's really important to you, look into that. You can go into each of these ETFs, just Google it, and you can look into some of the investments they make underneath. Cool. But going back, I'm going to start with Classic. And continue. Okay, so now you're going to fund your account. And so you link up an external account that use Plaid, I believe. Or something similar. So you just log in, you find your bank. I'm going to connect my VO Bank account. Security code, great. Okay, how much would you like to transfer? I'm just testing this out, so I'm going to put $10. And it looks like there is a minimum initial deposit of $500. So for everybody here, there's a minimum initial deposit of $500. Great. Okay, so change that to $500. So I don't actually have $500 in this random VO Bank savings account that I have. So I'm going to stop this process here because I already have a Wealthfront account, as I mentioned. But I hope you guys got a sense of what that flow was like and also a little bit about the types of investments. It all checks out. It's all very straightforward, easy to use. The investments look good, at least in those portfolios that they showed. And so I am a fan. I still am a fan. I was a fan and I'm still a fan. I did want to point out two things, though. The first one is to take a look at their different investments. And then the second piece is that tax loss harvesting stuff that I mentioned. I want to dig in more on the investment side in addition to what I showed you earlier. So I'm back on this, explore investing screen that we were looking at earlier. If I scroll down here, you can actually click into the different types of ETFs that you can invest in. So for example, like V&Q is a real estate ETF, and you can see a little bit of what they're like, the performance. And the thing that I want to call out always is to look at the expense ratio. Make sure that the expense ratio is low. This is the fancy way that they call fees. So remember, you're paying 0.25%, and then on top of that, you're going to be paying whatever expense ratio for the fund that they invest you in. And so just double check. If you're curious about any of it, the Vanguard ones in general are really, really good. So we probably don't have to look into those as much. Like, for example, I was talking about the VTI one, expense ratio 0.03%. It's like nothing. So it's really good. There is one fund that I wanted to call out. So Wealthfront exclusive offerings. Clicking in here, they have this thing called the Wealthfront Risk Parity Fund. And take a look. The expense ratio is 0.25%. Remember, VTI was 0.03%. 0.25% is really high. You're already paying 0.25%, then you're going to pay another 0.25%. So basically, after you sign up for Wealthfront, check to make sure that they do not put your money in this Wealthfront Risk Parity Fund. It is too expensive to pay off. In total, you're basically paying 0.5%, and it's just really, really high. So I do not recommend this. Basically, what happened, or the story of this, is that Wealthfront's 0.25%, I think, was not the most profitable. Their investors were demanding that they make more money, and so they started to do things like set up a Wealthfront Risk Parity Fund where they can sort of claim more of your wallet. Anyway, point is, make sure that they don't put your money in this fund. It's just too expensive. Okay, so that's on investments. I wanted to talk also about tax loss harvesting. And to do this, I'm going to show you guys sort of like my account with the sensitive information blocked out. Okay, so this is my account. I'm just going to scroll down really quickly so you guys can see. Like, again, I'm just a big fan of like how clean this is, how large this is. My portfolio has done pretty well, but in line with market, right? They invest you in the market. And then up here, you can see the returns and also this thing called tax loss harvesting. So I'm going to click into that and come down here. So basically what it's saying is that because of their tax loss harvesting, they have managed to save me $1,142.77 in tax savings. And then I'm going to click into how this is calculated. So basically what they do is when the market is down or when a particular investment is down, they will sell it and then they will replace it with something that is similar but not the same. Basically, what it's saying is you're realizing losses, but you're still invested in generally the same kind of thing. This is something, tax loss harvesting is a really interesting feature that can only be done by the robos, pretty much. There is this rule called wash sale rules, which means that if you're an individual trying to replicate this idea of like when the investment goes down, you sell it, realize the losses on your taxes, and then buy something else, there is a risk that what you buy is going to run afoul of like IRS rules, these wash sale rules, because basically humans tried to do this in the past, and then the government was like, no, no, no. And so only really robos can do this pretty well to make sure that, hey, you know, you're on the clear, you're in the clear from a tax perspective. So this is a nice feature, right? The fact that you want to make sure that you're on the right side of tax laws, like this is pretty cool. But the thing that I don't like about this is that it's a little bit misleading in terms of how much that value is. What I mean to say is that the value that you're getting from tax loss harvesting is probably not this huge number. It is going to be some smaller, much smaller percentage of this. That said, it's a positive number. It is still a positive thing in terms of your investment returns, and even small improvements in your investment returns can make a big difference over the long term. So definitely a good feature. I don't like the fact that they overstate the value of this. And yeah, so overall, what do I think? As you guys can probably see, I love the design. It's so simple, so easy to use, really good for beginners, but also really good for people who just don't want to deal with like really complicated investing websites. Like, why do they have to be so complicated? Most of them are too complicated. So I really like that piece of it. I like the fee, 0.25%. That's really good. I like the fact that they invest you generally in really low cost, like best in class ETFs, like Vanguard ETFs. Double check to make sure that they're not putting your money in the Wealthfront risk parity fund. And just take that tax loss harvesting stuff with a grain of salt. It's a good feature, but I think they oversell it a little bit. And that's pretty much it. I definitely recommend using this. I'm still using it. I'm not closing my account anytime soon. And so I give it a thumbs up.
And that's it. Those are my thoughts on Wealthfront. I'd love to hear what you guys think as well. Definitely let us know in the comments below. And also, as mentioned, we're Uprise. We put together personalized Wall Street level financial plans completely free. So if you have any questions about which robo-advisor you should be using, how to think about employer benefits, savings accounts, credit cards, anything else, definitely let us know. We'd be happy to help. And on average, we've been able to find $1.5 million to add to each customer's lifetime net worth. Other than that, if you got value out of this video, please give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell for notifications. I'll see you guys next time.